Jason Graves. I'm a member of Phi Gamma Delta. And tonight, in conjunction with brief prayers, we'd like to present Jim Tuman, a high-powered, highly motivated individual who really cares about today's young adults. But before letting Jim take the floor, I want to give you all just a little bit of background about him. He's a graduate of Michigan State University. He's developed 3 national programs dealing with youth, women, and returning veterans. Has appeared on ABC, NBC, and CBS National News, The Today Show, Our Magazine, National PM Magazine, The Charles Kuralt Morning Show, and Oprah Winfrey Show. Has been featured in Newsweek, USA Today, Business Week, Chicago Sun-Times, Washington Post, LA Times, Detroit Free Press, and Detroit News. Was invited by 14 world leaders to talk about the breakdown of families. Has been the subject of a half-hour documentary shown nationwide in Japan. Tuman believes in a balance in his life, and so has done diverse things such as a circus clown, a rodeo rider, symphony musician, cake decorator, and parade enthusiast. Spent a summer working as a famine relief worker in Ethiopia. Spent a summer working as a roadie with the rock group Journey. And now has passed a milestone of speaking to more than 2 million students in more than 1,000 schools nationwide. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Tuman.
You know? Who's the most important person 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 you know? Why was that so difficult for some of you here tonight to say that you were the most important person that you knew? Virtually every one of you here tonight can influence thousands of people in your life. What are you going to be able to give to somebody if you don't feel good enough about yourselves to give them something? I was coming back to Chicago after being on the road for 5 straight days, working at this level of intensity, to groups of 1,000 or more. And I just wanted some peace and quiet. I just wanted to be alone. And I found this restaurant 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. All the lunchtime crowd had gone. I grabbed a newspaper, walked all the way down to the last seat at the counter, and literally wanted to tune out the world. Didn't want to talk to one person. And I'm sitting in there reading the newspaper, and I glanced out of the corner of my eye, and a guy walked in. He could have picked any seat at the counter, anyone. Instead, what he does is he walks all the way down and sits down right next to me and starts talking. And I got real uncomfortable. I thought, what does this guy want from me? What can he possibly want? Well, you know, I kept on tuning him out. But everyone, you know how sometimes a word or a phrase or a gesture catches you? That's what happened with this guy. Turned out he was 36 years old. He had built a small computer business in Northern California into a multi-million-dollar business. 4 weeks before he met me, he walked into his doctor's office for a routine annual company physical. Doctor called him up 3 days later, told him he had leukemia, less than 6 months to live. This guy was just blown away. He had all the stuff, all the toys he could possibly want. He had a beautiful home on the side of the mountain in Carmel, California, overlooking the Pacific. He had the cars, the boats, everything he could possibly want. Now he didn't have the time to be able to enjoy any of these things. And he did something to me that was incredibly courageous. He decided what he was going to do was to take off, sell everything in the world that he owned, take off, just to get a chance to see the things he never got a chance to see, working 16, 18-hour days, certainly talking to people like me he never got a chance to talk to. And you know, I was so moved and so touched by this guy that I wound up at the end of that lunch, getting up and giving this guy a hug, wishing him good luck, knowing that I would never, ever see this guy again as long as I lived. I walked out to my car, sat behind the steering wheel, and found myself crying. In 1 hour's time, this man influenced me more than people who have been in my life for 30 years. Every one of you here tonight has that possibility. What, though, are you going to be able to give to somebody if you don't feel good enough about yourselves to give them something? The unfortunate thing, and you'll look at it, somebody who's truly guilty of this, is that we are all so busy allowing other people to dictate how we should feel about ourselves that we can't see our own value. Let me show you something. Can I ask you a question? What is it? Alyssa, let's assume, Alyssa, that tonight all of us got together and we all decided that you were absolutely the ugliest person that we'd ever seen. So incredibly ugly, Alyssa, that no matter where you went, from here on in, we whispered behind your back and we kept on talking. And even when you went home next weekend, your parents locked you in the bedroom for 2 hours and it kept on whispering, kept on talking, kept on criticizing. I'm watching you get a little red-faced, get a little embarrassed, get a little uncomfortable. Tell me the truth, Alyssa. How do you feel if enough people say you're ugly? Not very good. Actually, everyone, I picked on Alyssa because Alyssa's really attractive, so let's take the complete opposite side. Let's assume we all got together and said, wow, Alyssa's a great friend. She's always there when I need her. She always seems to care. She always understands. How do you feel if enough people say you're great? Good about yourself. What have we done, everyone, to Alyssa in the span of 30 seconds? We've taken her from feeling badly about herself to at least feeling decent about ourselves just because all of you guys have decided that's how she should feel. And you buy into it. You allow it to happen. Every time I go through this next story, I go through some personal pain. It's just too close. And when I was walking in the halls preparing for this, I was reliving in my mind. I got to Michigan probably 12 or 13 years ago. I had gone to school there, but most of my friends, people that I knew in my life, had scattered all over the country. My family's been divorced since I was 15. One living on one side of the country in San Diego, the other in New York, so I've never known a real sense of family. And I found this family in Michigan. They had 5 children, age range 19 to 13. And they became the family that I always wanted, that I always needed. And I would find any excuse, any reason to go over their house. Holidays, special occasions, anything. I just needed that feeling of belonging. And there was always a key left underneath the mat. There was always a place for me. About 5 years ago, I noticed something happening in that family. I couldn't put my finger on it. Wasn't quite sure. Every time I go over their house, they were always putting down their 14-year-old son. Why can't you be more like your brother and sister? Why can't you get better grades? Why can't you be on time? All these string of whys. And at first this boy pulled back. Get real uncomfortable. Sometimes you just get angry. Sometimes you just get up and leave. 3 years ago last month, mother and father came back from a party about 1 o'clock in the morning. They walked through the front door. Bathroom door was locked. They broke down the bathroom door. This 14-year-old boy had hung himself in the shower. And there was a big note on the outside of the door said, "But you didn't like me anyway." If you can feel my anger now, it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. I can't bring that boy back. I can't tell him he's okay. He is history. He's not going to influence one more person in his life except for the fact that he died. And I miss him terribly. You know, time heals those wounds, but what it doesn't heal for me is what a waste. What a waste. We are all so busy allowing other people to dictate how we should feel about ourselves that we can't see our own value. Let me show you something. If you could wake up on Christmas morning with any car that you always dreamt about, sitting in your driveway, what kind of car would it be? Any car that you always dreamt about. A Corvette? Tell me what color you want the Corvette. Black. Christmas morning, any car sitting in your driveway. Dodge Viper? What color would you want the Viper? Blue. Christmas morning, any car sitting in your driveway. What kind of car would you want? Lamborghini. Tell me what color you want the Lamborghini. Blue. let's for a minute create the ultimate for the three of you guys. Okay? Let's assume that the three of you guys really own these cars. They are, in your mind, the best thing you own. Best thing you own. And you've taken a lot of extra time in the last couple of weeks. It's starting to be spring, the weather's getting better. You've taken a lot of extra time in the last couple of weeks. You've polished up the cars, you've done some major engine work. And you've driven the cars here tonight. Okay? And when I'm through speaking, you got the keys in your pocket. You're going to pick somebody here tonight that you really care about. You're going to take off. And you love these cars. They're the best thing you own. And all three of the cars are sitting right next to each other outside in the parking lot. Let's take it one step further, guys. Let's assume that I'm driving through the parking lot with this enormous crane with a wrecking ball on the crane. And I get to your Corvette, easily a $50,000 car these days. I take the wrecking ball and I swing it back and I go wham! Rip off the entire front end of that car, just pull it off. Drop it one time on the top of that car so the parts are all over the lot. Move over to your Viper, selling on the open market these days between $150,000 and $200,000. Take the wrecking ball, just rip off the side doors, just rip them off. Drop it one time on the top of that car so the parts are all over the lot. Move to your Lamborghini, also $150,000 to $200,000 these days. Take the wrecking ball and I swing it back and I go wham, 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 like a riveter. So if there was a back seat to that Lamborghini, it is now the front seat of the Lamborghini. There's no insurance on these cars, guys. None whatsoever. You got 41 months of payments left. In the case of at least two of you guys, probably $3,000 to $4,000 a month, easy. Easy. You guys are certainly glaring back at me and looking at each other, standing in front of all the car parts. And I'm going to get into my car, and as I pass the three of you guys pulling out of the parking lot, I'm going to smile and wave to you guys, pulling out of that parking lot. Okay? Assuming no one was going to come down on you for anything. There was no right or wrong, no judgment issues, no conscience, 100% clean slate. Nothing was ever going to come back to you in any way, shape, or form. What would you want to do to me physically before I got out of the parking lot? What would you want to do to me physically? Probably use the crane on me, okay? Okay? No one's going to come down on you. No conscience issues at all with this, all right? We're wiping this slate perfectly clean. We're going to walk away without any concept of this. What would you want to do to me physically before I got out of the parking lot? Huh? Okay? Not even anything remote, right? Would you want to do anything for me, though? To me? Okay. Again, no conscience issues, nothing. You know, this is a clean slate, opportunity. What would you want to do? Report it to the police? Okay. I want the three of you guys, I want everybody else in the room to stop and think about this. Guys, if these cars were the only reason you had friends, if these cars were the only reason people liked you for, if these cars were the only image that everybody else in the world saw you through, I'd actually just destroy the three of you guys. Your history, you are no more. So everyone, it's interesting. If you don't feel good from the inside, if you need the stuff in your lives to make you feel good about yourselves, somebody at some point in your life can come along and take it all away. It is just that simple. Just that simple. This concept for me, interestingly enough, was never driven home clear to me than 12 years ago when I got a chance to work in the earthquake area outside of Naples, Italy. Many of you in the room have been following earthquakes in Japan, Southern California. And I happened to be in San Francisco about 6, 7 years ago when that one hit. So I was right in the middle of that one. I know what it feels like. But I have to tell you that nothing could have prepared me for what I saw outside of Naples, Italy 12 years ago. Everything that people own for 100 square miles, lives, houses, property, cars, was gone in 38 seconds. 38 seconds. Imagine you left your residence tonight, wherever that may be. Maybe something you look back, maybe you forgot something in your room, maybe something in the driveway where you live caught your eye. Imagine coming back after this program tonight when nothing that you have when you left this, just a short while ago is still left standing. And now you know what these people felt like. And I used to go in and do community organizing. I'd work with groups of 6 or 8 or 10 people, and I would try to get them to figure out how they were going to rebuild their village. And I would ask them the same questions. Why? Why would you take a chance and rebuild this village? It's right on an earthquake fault line. This can happen again in 10 days, 10 months, 10 years, but it surely is going to happen again. You know, everyone, I heard the same answers from people. Different words, same answers. My friends live here. My family lives down the road. I love living in this village. And I read between the lines what these people were really saying to me was, my friends and family come first in my life, and the things that I own second. Many of you in the room tonight are saying, this guy's crazy. I'm going to go out and get all the stuff I want. Then I'll deal with the priority in my life of people first, things second. So let me ask all of you a question. If you can answer this question, I am willing to buy you dinner any place of your choice. Any place of your choice. How do you know? How do you know that you don't only have 6 months to live? How do you know that you don't only have 6 months to live? I was speaking at USC not more than 4 weeks ago. A young woman who was supposed to have been at that program was killed the night before coming back from a basketball game in the fog. I spoke out at a high school near where I live. Captain of the football team walked into school one day. 2 friends were fighting with another guy. He went to break up that fight. Somebody put a knife into his gut, and he died on the way to the hospital. I am sure those 2 people did not get up that morning and say, this is the last day of the rest of my life. I am sure those 2 people did not get up that morning and say, this is the last day of the rest of my life. There are no guarantees. No guarantees. Raise your hand in the room if you've been to a funeral in the last year. My hand also. Now I want you to stop and think about this one, please. Raise your hand again if you went to that funeral in the last year of somebody who you thought died too young or died before their time. My hand also. You know, it's devastating for all of us here tonight, obviously myself included. You see, we magically believe that when we tell a friend of ours, I'll see you back at the residence, I'll meet you later, I'll talk to you on the phone tonight. You know, we actually expect that that person's going to be there in our lives. And when someone in our life breaks the chain, every one of us here tonight realizes we're only on borrowed time. So if many of you are waiting for the time in your life to put the priority, friends and family up there, maybe you just won't have that time. And as I said before, we are all so busy allowing other people to tell us whether we're important or not that we can't see our own value. Let me show you something. Anybody here have a dollar bill? Anybody got a dollar bill? Help me out. Can you stand up? Can you tear it in half? You know, everybody, I know people that have compromised their entire lives for this. I know people that have sold out for this. I'm not, so that any of you tonight walk out the least bit unclear. I'm not saying that that's not important. We run our whole society by that. I'm simply asking all of you, most of you in the room who've got some life choices coming up, I'm simply saying to all of you, if this is the only thing in your life that motivates you, if this is the only thing in your life you get up every day for, if this is the only thing in your life that has the slightest bit of meaning, there is never going to be enough of it. Never. Let me show you something. Best guess on this. How many people in your life do you know that are truly, truly fulfilled and happy in their lives? Best guess. 20, okay. How many people in your life do you know? Hundreds? Okay. Can I ask you, please? Best guess. How many people in your life do you know truly, truly fulfilled and happy in their life? Best guess. Okay. A dozen. And how many people in your life do you know? Hundreds, also thousands? Same question. How many people in your life do you know? Best guess, truly fulfilled and happy.
About 10 or so.
Couple of hands, okay, so maybe 10 on that. Okay. I want all of you to listen to those odds. Listen to those odds. And interestingly enough, those odds are fairly high. Normally I get 2, 3, 4, 5. But I'll accept those. I'll accept those. Collectively, between 3 people, we've got a grand total 30, 40 people that they know that are truly fulfilled and happy in their lives, as opposed to hundreds, if not thousands of people that they know. Want to know what that means based on those odds? There's probably a little less than a couple hundred of you in this room. Based on those odds, maybe in this whole room, 10 of you, possibly 15 of you, are going to be truly fulfilled and happy in their lives. Is it going to be you? 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 Who knows? And who knows how much time many of you have got to deal with this? Again, that's what we're talking about tonight. No guarantees. No guarantees. Raise your hand here tonight if you come from a divorced family. My hand also. Now help me out because my voice is a little shot. I've been on the road speaking quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. Raise your hand individually, any of you, and tell me, why do you think there's so many divorces in this country today? Anybody? Why do you think? Anyone? We lead the world in divorce now. Anybody? Why do you think there's so many divorces? Yes, first name. Time. People getting married too soon, absolutely. Anyone else? Why do you think there's so many divorces in this country? First name, yes. Jason, thanks. Women are becoming more economically independent. Okay? Yep, thanks. First name. Corey, thanks.
Well, when people decide to get married, they get married for the wrong reasons.
They get married for the wrong reasons. That's powerful. Thank you, Corey. That's great. First name. Gary, thanks. It's widely accepted. Becoming a tradition. Absolutely. First name. Chris, thanks. Yep, they just keep overextending. It's the first time I've heard that, Chris. That's great. Thank you. Yes, first name. Adam, thank you.
People, when they go into marriage, they know it's not.
Sure, when they go in, if you got a back door, then you sometimes exercise that back door. Absolutely. Thanks, Adam. Anyone else? Yes, first name.
Rob.
Right.
Is money causes more stress?
Money causes more stress. Okay. Anyone else? Why do you think there's so many divorces? Anybody? Yes, first name. Yeah.
So many people are actually looking to get married and all they want to do is they live.
Yeah, it's, chase is better than the catch. Thanks. Yes, first name.
Eric,
Eric, yes.
people are willing to sacrifice enough to make it work. They don't see it as a commitment. It's just,
Yep. Those are all real good answers. But I have a question for all of you. Do you think people really know each other before they get married? Do people really know each other? What's the first thing all of us do when we meet somebody? We try to impress them. We try to tell them the best of who we are. Well, people fall in love on the basis of that impression. They get married on the basis of that impression. And and then they wake up one day and a completely different person has emerged, somebody who they don't even know. I have a real good friend of mine that works as a divorce court judge. He said the biggest reason that people have for being in his courtroom is that the other person changed. You know the other person didn't change. The other person was in there in the first place. Sometimes we're too busy wearing the mask. Too busy wearing the mask. Jason, what's that introduction sheet? This lengthy introduction sheet that Jason read at the beginning of this talk is not me, gang. It's not me. It's the things I did in my life. It's not the person who I am. The person who I am was in the hallway, pacing back and forth, trying to get the courage to come out in front of all of you. And I speak to 150,000 people a year. You see, I changed schools 5 times between grade school and high school. And it left me with so many fears and so many insecurities that it was actually tough for me to get out in front of a room full of people. It's interestingly more difficult for me to meet you one-to-one. If you had a party in this hall and I didn't know any of you, chances are I'd walk through those doors, hope that one of you would make some eye contact, say hello, say something. If that didn't happen, I'd mill around a little bit, still waiting for somebody to have an exchange with. If still that didn't happen, maybe if you had some food, I'd get some food. Maybe if there were things on the wall, I'd look at some things on the wall, hoping that somebody would open up a conversation. When that didn't happen, or if that didn't happen, I would leave. And I've done this dozens of times, because it's too difficult for me to walk up to somebody and say, "Hi, my name is Jim," or say hello to somebody. I was on a national speaking tour in Australia, and I came back, 747 was just packed. And I sat in the center section. There were people on both sides of me, from the lake from Sydney to Honolulu, 10.5 hours. I sat in that center section for 10.5 hours reading the same newspapers, same magazines, over and over and over again, hoping that the people on either side of me would just open up. Just say something. When that didn't happen, I was just frozen. Frozen with shyness. Because it was too difficult for me to open up. I was a 7-letter athlete in high school. I was a class officer 4 years running. I carried an A- average, and I also tried to kill myself 3 times. 3 times I tried to kill myself. Because I was living off the image. I was so afraid, everyone, that if something happened on that football field, when the smoke cleared for me personally, there'd be nobody there. Nobody there. Many of you here tonight are living off those same images. Many of you here tonight are living behind those same masks. Raise your hand in the room tonight if you have a best friend. Now again, help me out. My voice is, I can feel it starting to go. Raise your hand individually, any of you. Tell me what makes that person a best friend to you. Probably the most key concept of this whole night. What makes that person a best friend to you? Anybody? Yes. First name. Corey. Corey again.
Whenever something good happens or whenever something bad happens, I know that he's always going to be very interested in my news and my downfalls and take us into interest in.
It's a great friend. Hang on to him. Anyone else? What makes that person a best friend? First name. Yes. You can 100% open up to him. It's safe. It's safe to be yourself. Thanks. Yes. First name. Josh. They judge you by the good things, not the bad things. Yep. Again, it's all around safety and trust. Anybody else? What makes that person a best friend? Yes. he knows instinctively what you're thinking and feeling. Great. First name? Chris, thanks.
Sharing experience with us.
Sharing experiences. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. First name?
Brad,
Brad.
trust,
Trust issues. Bottom line, by the way, Brad, if there's no trust issues, it's not safe. Yes, first name?
accept who you are.
They accept you for who you are. Absolutely. Unconditional acceptance. Anybody else? What makes that person the best friend to you? Yes, first name? Honesty. Your best friend will tell you what's going on and be able to confront you in a loving, kind, understanding way. Anyone else? Makes that person the best friend. Yes, first name.
Doug, you don't have to wear your mask.
Yeah, you can take off your mask. Yep. You know, interestingly enough, the survival of the Greek system is based on what you just shared tonight, right here, in the last minute or two. Without it, this will crumble for sure. This will crumble for sure. Because for many of you, you go back to individual houses, and for many of you, it doesn't feel safe. For many of you, you still wear a mask. For many of you, it's still a struggle. There's still a lot of pain attached to it. And until there's a creation of a sense of family and a continuation of that sense of family, then the Greek system will be in turmoil. If that is what you need in your house, then challenge yourself to ask for it, and challenge even further to try to get it. Why didn't any of the dozen of you that just spoke, why don't you mention the grades that person had? Sports they played, cars they drove, money that they did or didn't have. Anybody? Anyone? Why didn't you mention that? Yes, it's Doug? Yes.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter? Not important? Why do we believe so much that it does matter and that it is important? Let me show you something else that doesn't matter. Okay? If you were killed tonight on the way home in an automobile accident, and we were having a memorial service in this hall for you, would you want people only to remember you for the Corvette? Only? How would you want people to remember you? The good things. Absolutely. If you were killed tonight on the way home in an automobile accident, it's Josh, right? Josh, if you were killed tonight on the way home in an automobile accident, and we were having a memorial service for you in this hall, would you want people to remember you for the Viper? How do you want people to remember you? That you were a lot of fun. Great. If you were killed tonight on the way home in an automobile accident, and we were having a memorial service in this hall for you, want people to remember you for the Lamborghini? How do you want people to remember you? As a hard worker. Okay? Isn't it interesting, everyone? Not more than 10 minutes ago, at least one person out of 3 was prepared to do major bodily damage to me with a crane. Was prepared to probably kill me with a crane over a car he didn't want to be remembered for. Isn't it interesting that people, many of you, have thought about what you would do to me over cars that you don't want to be remembered for? We complicate our lives. So simple. So simple. Stop. Every one of you here tonight, stop. Give me 5 seconds, that's all I'm asking. I want all of you right now to ask yourselves, how do I want the people in my life who I love and who love me to remember me? Put it up at the top of the list in your life and live it out. How do I want the people in my life who I love and who love me to remember me? If some of you here tonight want to be remembered as a great friend, put that one up at the top of the list in your life and live it out. If some of you here tonight want to be remembered as a person who was there when people needed you, put that one up at the top of the list in your life and live it out. If some of you here tonight just want to be remembered as a person who cared, put that one up at the top of the list in your life and live it out. That's not to say don't go after a lot of money. That's not to say don't get the best job possible. That's not to say don't have a ton of friends. I'm simply saying to all of you, stop 5 seconds and ask yourselves, how do I want the people in my life who I love and who love me to remember me? Hope against hope, some of you here tonight have got the time to live that one out. Again, no guarantees. No guarantees. I grew up in a macho family. Ever since I was probably 7 or 8 years old, I was always told that it was weak, it was wrong, it was unmanly to share my feelings. And so consequently, never once in my whole life did I ever tell my mother or my father or my brother, never once, that I loved them. And I would have given anything, for someone to have walked into a place where I was, asked me to raise my hand for my best friend. I would have given anything to have been able to raise my hand for my father. But I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. See, my father was very effective in shutting me down. Every time I'd go to open up to him in any way, shape, or form, he would always say, "Hey, Jim, I can't be bothered now. Go back to your room. Don't ever let me see you cry." And so I kept stuffing my feelings down further and further and further until there was no place to go. I put them on my bulletin board. And every time before I go on a road trip or go out to speak, I look over at those words. Because I don't want to ever forget what this is about. And the words she said to me were, "Jim, we had a lot of time together, and yet we had no time together." Spoke at another school, a young girl wasn't so lucky. She waited till after school to tell her father how much she cared. She raced home. There was an ambulance in the driveway. Her father, who was 38 years old, had been cleaning out the garage and had dropped dead of a heart attack. 38 years old! And I got a call from her the first day of grief. And she said, "Jim, I know you get a chance to talk to thousands of people in your life. Tell them not to wait. Tell them I waited a half an hour too long." There are many of you here tonight that have friends no more than a few feet away from you. Family a phone call away. Never once have you ever told that person that you care about them. Never once. Live with a reality as I do. That there is no guarantee that the person that you care about is going to make it home tonight. None whatsoever. As I have done in every program, in the last 12 years that I've spoken, once a year I dedicate all my programs to a different person each year. Somebody who maybe in that course of that year had made a difference in my life. In this particular year, all my programs go to somebody who saved my life. On March 19th, when I was 17 years old, I wanted out. I was screaming inside. Nobody came. I went home that night planning on taking my own life. My best friend in the world, Ricky Myers, called me up and said, "Jim, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I really care about you. I really love you. Don't do it. I'm aware of what you're going to do." Paul saved my life. On the anniversary of that call every year, I find Ricky Myers wherever he is in the country. And I thank him. Last year was no exception. I call him, he lives in Florida, we tease, we joke, we laugh, we talk about our families. And all of a sudden there was silence at the other end of the line. Silence. And he said to me, he said, "Jim," he said, "I don't want you to hear this from my wife," he said, "but I've got colon cancer and they're giving me just a very short time to live." I didn't know what to say to him. I didn't know what to say. And everything I realized I'm trying to get all of you to see, I got to live out in my own life. And I said to him, I said, "You've been closer to me than my own brother. You've been my friend, you've been my family, you've been my confidant, you've You've been my best friend. And I really love you. And you shared the same with me. 6 days before Thanksgiving this year. Sometimes think this gets easier. Six days before Thanksgiving this year, I got a call. The Ricky Myers had died. So I want to dedicate all this because his love flows through me. I want to dedicate all his programs. There are many of you out there that have the Ricky Myers in your life, people who have been there when you needed them. In some cases have saved your lives, if not have been there during crucial times and tough times. Never once have you told them, never once, that you care about them. Never once. There's a sharing part of my program that I've been doing for the last 12 years. Time doesn't permit it tonight, but to me I've seen incredibly powerful things happen. Incredibly powerful things. At New York University, a young boy no more than 3 feet tall, encephalitic head, pencil-thin arms, got up in front of almost 1,000 people and said, "Why do you guys put me down? Why do you put me down?" He said, "I didn't mean to be born like this." He said, "I go home at night, I don't want to go on anymore." He said to the whole room, he said, "I need friends." He said, "Please be my friend." He said, "I don't want to go on anymore." He said, "I need friends. I feel alone." And when he got through speaking, 50 people were actually moved to get up out of their seats, to come up and connect with him, to tell him that they didn't realize how much in pain he was. That they would try to be more of a friend to him, that they would try to be more concerned for him. And he came back up to the mic and said to everybody, he said, "This doesn't change my appearance." He said, "I'm still going to be walking down the street. People will still look away." He said, "But when I'm in my room one night feeling that sense of aloneness, I'll remember that some of you cared about me. And maybe he'll pull me through." At a high school in Utah, brother and sister, quadriplegic, paraplegic. Both of them from an automobile accident. They wheeled the brother up to the mic in the gym. He pointed to the corner of the gym where his sister was in her chair. And he said, "I want to thank my sister for giving me the courage to keep on going." And his sister was about 10 times worse off than he was. And they wheeled his sister up to the mic, and both of them put their arms around each other. And every student in that room got up on their feet and gave him a standing ovation. They had never seen such courage. Never. Biggest act of courage, bar none, in all the years that I've been speaking, happened at a school in Chicago. Young girl, 16 years old, had been leaving school 6 or 8 weeks before I got there. Nobody knew why. Rumors floating on around about her. All this, nobody knew why. She got up in front of the whole school and she said, "I was afraid. I was afraid to tell all of you why I'm leaving." She said, "Now I'm more afraid of the reason why I'm leaving than I certainly am of any of you." She said, "I'm 16 years old. She said, I've been taking chemotherapy treatments because I found out I've got cancer." She said, "I thought I could go it alone. She said, but the therapy treatments have left me too sick to come back to school. She said, I thought I didn't need any of you here." She said, I thought I was strong enough to make it on my own. She said, "I was wrong." She said, "I'm scared." She said, I'm 16 years old, I'm going to live. She says, like the first young boy, she says, I need friends. She says, please be my friend. I can't go it alone. I'm scared. I need all of you. I know that I was wrong in not opening up. I don't want to be alone anymore. Please help me through. And when she got through speaking, she took off her wig and she was completely bald from the chemotherapy treatments. I had to get out of the way for 2 solid hours, everyone. 2 hours. While 1,800 students lined up to cry with her, to care about her, to tell her that she was not going to go it alone. 2 solid hours. I got a letter from her at Christmas, and God willing, I hope as long as I'm on this earth, I get a letter from her every Christmas. And in the letter it said, Jim, I don't know who's winning the cancer or me, but my friends are helping me through. That's the key for all of you here tonight. The key, the difference. You can remember this as 4 years of the toughest times you will ever have in your life, or 4 years of at least decent times, and the difference is the people around you who care about you. But I can't make the choice for any of you. You see, I spent my whole life like this. Don't get too close to me. Maybe you'll find out that I'm weak. Maybe you'll find out that I'm insecure. Maybe you'll find out that I'm afraid, and maybe you'll leave me. I spent my whole life like this when the very thing I wanted was this. But I was too afraid. Too afraid. I can't make the choice for some of you. For some of you, this is going to last 5 minutes. Some of you, this is going to last 5 minutes. Some of you never got it at all. For some of you, 5 days, 5 months, 5 years. And for the handful of you in the room, maybe you'll carry it with you the rest of your lives. But it's your choice. And again, I can't take that responsibility for that. I pushed away people for so long, when the very thing that I was afraid of was the very thing I wanted. 99% of my audience is student audiences because you guys have a chance. You have a chance. Yes, some people live longer. For every year we live, some of us, brick goes up on the wall. Wall gets up so high, nobody gets through. Nobody gets through. You guys have a chance in this. I was speaking at a school in Florida in November, and as I was leaving the school, a young boy put a note in my pocket and said, Jim, when you get a chance, please take a look at this. It's a tribute to my friend. It's a tribute to my friend. I reached in my pocket as I was driving back to the hotel, and out fell this note. Picked it up off the floor and just started to read it as I was driving, and pulled off to the side of the road, read it 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times. Before I got back to the hotel, it was everything that I wanted to share with all of you. He had summed up in 1 page. 1 page. It's called Friendly Pain. A good friend is an exceptional friend. Someone to talk to, laugh with, confide in. His smile, what a great smile, bright. Grade school, junior high school, the best times of your life, most say. So far, they're right. Lucky I was to have such a great friend. So many smiles, and the laughter. The plans we made him to college, I stayed home. When we can, we'll get together, drink some beer, laugh, smile, and offer honest advice. Now we can't, for he fell asleep behind the wheel. Oh, the pain, my stomach like a burning flame, it can't be true. We never said goodbye. The plans like sandcastles on the beach washed away. And oh, how I miss my buddy, on my mind like a good tune. I still think of the good times, I always will. The plans, well, they've fallen apart, and I've made new. I made new with new friends that smile and laugh. It's never the same, and never will be. The friendship we had was special, like ice cream on a hot summer day, and we never said goodbye. I wish that for those of you that raised your hands who lost somebody in the last year or 5 years or even before, I wish I could bring back that person for just a couple minutes, so you could let them know what's in your heart. But obviously I can't do that. Next best thing I can do is the gift of what I'm giving you here tonight, which is to tell people around you tonight, to go and burn up the phone lines, to tell people that you care, to let people know what's in your heart. Because when it push comes to shove, that's all we've got. What scares me the most when I speak on college campuses is that many of you could spend 4 years in your room, staring into a computer screen. You can date by computer, you can take tests by computer, you can register by computer, you can do anything by computer, and we're getting more and more distant, more and more apart from the very thing that we cherish the most, that we love the most. That's why to me it is so important that the Greek system stay alive. So important that the intimacy and the best friends and a safe place that many of you have been able to create in your houses keeps on going and that the legacy keeps on going. But it's not going to happen until we're open and vulnerable and real. The first time I ever shared the fact that I had tried to take my life, I swallowed so many times because I wasn't sure how it would be received. Here I was as a presenter saying to people, look, I have pain, I have issues, I have struggles, I have difficulties. The only saving grace for all of us is to allow people into our lives, to allow people to see who we are 100%, not to push the mask around. Mask serves nobody. For most of us who wear the mask, there's a tremendous fear that what happens one day when the mask is taken off. In my family, love was based on performance. The more I performed, the greater the love. So there was always a fear one day, what happens as a shy, insecure boy and how I saw myself. What happens one day when I don't perform? Will there be any love? I'm asking you tonight, on a campus of almost 20,000 or over 20,000 students, the challenge for all of you is to be real. The challenge is for you to be connected. The challenge for all of you is to create a safe place for each other so that you can, in fact, continue to build relationships. And it's also fragile. It is also fragile. In January, I spoke at a school, and about a week and a half afterwards, received this letter. Dear Jim, I'd like to thank you for coming to our school. You have showed us all that life can be taken away as fast as it is given. The day after you had come, 3 people were involved in a car accident. 2 of them had died instantly, and the other is in the hospital. The girl that died was one of my good friends. She was only 17. The boy that died was from another school, so I didn't know him very well. I don't understand what's going on. I and many others had to go through 3 deaths in the past 2 months. Our school has gone through so much, but somehow these deaths have brought us all closer together. Now, if I inspire nothing else in this 12-year run of speaking, if I inspire nothing else but this next paragraph, it's been an incredible run. Before, I was too afraid to tell anyone how I felt, but now I feel I need to before they are gone. You have made me appreciate life and to live each day as if it were the last. Thank you very much, Suzanne Schomer, Student Council President, Carsonville High School. She got a gift. Tough price to pay, but she got a gift. Many of you here have lost somebody, you got a gift. You got a gift of how fragile it is. You got a gift of what sense of immediacy. You got a gift of what is still left in our heart. What is still left in our heart. And I don't want any of you to leave here tonight at least bit unclear about what this message is about. We've said it a few times tonight. But this program is not about death. It's not about death. It's about time. The time that all of us is not quite clear how much we have. The time to look at what is important to us. The time to open up our hearts, take off our masks, and allow other people to care about us. Because push comes to shove. That's what we all want. We all want someone to value us. We all want someone to love us. And yet many of us, because of our fears, keep the very thing that we want the most away from us. 25 years ago, I got an opportunity to go on the road when the Beatles first made their national tour. I was a photographer. And I was in Chicago, and John Lennon had put a full-page ad in the Chicago Tribune asking to meet with 75 aspiring songwriters in the hope that the Beatles would find a new song, take it to the top of the charts, make that person famous. In an auditorium on Northwestern University's campus, much like this here tonight, 75 people gathered, scattered all over the auditorium. 5,000 had applied to be there that day. And Lennon, who was probably the softest spoken man I've ever heard, came out of the side curtain and barely above a whisper, he said into the microphone, he said, "I'm no more talented than any of you." Nobody heard him. No one. I was in the corner with a long telephoto lens. And everybody was whispering around me. And Lennon realized that nobody had heard a word he said. And he came back up to the mic, and in the loudest voice he could possibly project, he said to everybody in the room, he said, "I am no more talented than any of you." Sure enough, a guy in the back of the room raised his hand and said, "Hey, John, how can you tell us we are nobodies? The world is singing your music. Your concerts are standing room only. You're making a ton of money. How can you tell us we're nobodies?" He said, "The only difference between myself and you is if I've got a song inside, if I've got a dream in my gut, I got to have somebody write it, somebody promote it, somebody play it, and hopefully somebody buy it. Every one of you here tonight has something special to offer. But it doesn't mean anything if all the people around you get together to tell you how great you are. If none of you buy it inside." It's my hope. And I've had this hundreds of times. My hope that one of you will see me in an airport someplace. I'm constantly traveling. Come up and tap me on the shoulder and say, "Hey, Jim, I heard you speak 5, 10, 15 years ago. I want you to know I'm going after my dreams, feeling great about myself. Most of all, I'm giving to a whole lot of people in my life." And I'll walk away with a credible smile on my face. Every one of you here tonight can make something happen in your lives. And none of you here tonight has to go it alone. None of you here tonight. I want to thank you so much for showing up on a night like this. And I want to thank you for giving me the last hour of your time. And I want to tell you from my heart that you guys have a great shot. I love all of you. Thanks again. Before you go, and I thank you so much for that. Before you go, two things I would ask. Before I forget, $2. I'll take the one. Get back to $1. There's some scraps of the dollar. I've got a few more in my pocket. I've been doing this a while. For any of you here tonight who chooses to, I will tear off a part of the dollar. Long after you forget about me, you forget about the program, you forget about anything that you experienced tonight. Take home a part of the dollar, and for whatever reason, you're in your room one night, nothing's working. Pull out a part of the dollar, remember people first thing second. You'll never ever be alone in your life. Never. I want to publicly thank my own chapter here of Phi Gamma Delta. It took a lot of energy and effort and commitment to bring me here. I can't tell you the warmth and kindness that they have extended to me, number one, and number two, that they show me the signs that there's a chance for this Greek system to survive. I have spoken in over 70 campuses now in the last year and a half, and I have to say to you that I'm deeply concerned. I'm deeply concerned. And I will do everything before my final day to make sure that I at least continue to be a voice in support of this Greek system. Because I think this is family. And I think for many of you who don't experience family, or who have not experienced a sense of family, this gives you a role model as to what is possible. And then maybe that hope will continue on so that when you create your own family, it will not be a divided family. It will not be a family under stress. It will not be a dysfunctional family, but it will be a really healthy family based on what you have modeled here. So I would ask that all of you take a look and go back to your houses, and if you are not getting your needs met and you are not getting what you want, then please ask for that. Please ask for that, and don't wait, and don't sit in quiet desperation and wait for it to happen. Be a voice. I'm also going to leave with Jason my address and phone number. I take at least one day a week and make a commitment to get back to anybody who chooses to contact me. And I will do that with any of you. If you just need an ear to listen, if you just need somebody to bounce some ideas off, if you just need to be able to have somebody that maybe mirrors some things for you, I'm willing to be that person. So that's an open offer. Again, burn up the phone lines tonight. Find somebody, just connect with them, let them know. Again, I love you very much. Thank you.
Like it.
You don't have to stop it.
Huh?
Why would you stop it?
We're down to 55 minutes in the can.
What?
55 minutes and now.
Don't we have more tape? Can we let the tape run until it ends?
All right, you want 5 minutes?
Yes, Peter, thank you. It's like we could have spent the whole day trying out the camera instead of stewing, but instead we made stew. So we could start the thing when we got here. Isn't it interesting? They haven't given us the Sure, would you say?
Don't look for miracles. This is my first time I've tried this. Don't expect miracles.
Ah.
Well, I got the first one. I said I got the first part. Okay. We started 10 minutes in.
Yeah, my son.
We have 1 minute 30 to go.
Didn't come with us.
This is hardly We've got all the editing equipment too. So whatever. Take mine and we can get it all edited down too. Well, whatever. Voiceovers.
Get that story.
Get Linda to do it. Huh? Get Linda to do it. Okay. You've heard the immortal words of Jim Cummings, the heart of downtown Manhattan, Kansas. We now return you to your local station. Beep. I might end up doing this for a living. I wouldn't mind it. Plus my back about it. Oh yeah, hey, look at this stuff. I have chiropractic problems like no tomorrow. Yes. Yes.